This is WCPO 9 News.
Thanks for joining us for WCPO 9 News. I'm Adrian Whitsett. Here's a look at some of today's top stories. The University of Cincinnati says it's reviewing allegations related to the men's basketball program. UC's athletic director says, quote, the university's always put the welfare of its student athletes first. We feel this is an essential step to ensure that all of our athletic programs meet the highest standards. The school has not said what the allegations are, but about a week ago, 6 players announced their plans to transfer over the course of about 2 days. We'll keep you posted. The Tri-State's fight against the coronavirus takes another step forward Monday as more and more people become eligible for vaccines. We know that in Ohio on Monday, 16 and over are eligible. Everyone in Kentucky over the age of 40, as well as everyone over the age of 40 in Indiana, are eligible. Kentucky's governor says he also plans to extend the state's mask mandate. Indiana announced this week that the mask mandate there will expire on April 6th. And it's budget time in Ohio. All eyes on lawmakers to see how much funding will be passed around. Specifically, how much money is available to fix our state's roads and bridges. An $8.3 billion transportation bill awaits Governor DeWine's signature. He had pushed to raise the penalties and fines for using a cell phone while driving, but lawmakers took that out. Lawmakers like Catherine Ingram from Cincinnati were concerned that would lead to racial profiling. Distracted driving laws aren't completely off the table. Legislators say they may add it in a separate piece of legislation. Jennifer.
Well, it has been a pretty cloudy day here in the Tri-State, and with time we should see this cloud deck breaking up a little bit, but guys, it's going to be a slow process. The good news is the wind has settled down. Yeah, about time. After that windy night, winds will continue out of the west at about 5 to 10 miles per hour for the rest of the afternoon, but that is nothing compared to last night. Now, for the rest of the day, we'll see highs in about the upper 50s, maybe around 60 at the warmest, and eventually it will turn partly cloudy, but ahead we'll dive into that weekend forecast and when storms return.
March 12th, on this shot, Kelly Neese broke the all-time scoring record for Simon Kenton boys basketball.
It's been my whole life, really, all 5 years that I've been here.
But Kelly is still number 2 in his family for career points. That's video from 2016, a game winner from Kelly's older sister, Allie, on the same night she reached 2,000 career points.
Having your sister play and be the big star, I guess you could say, it was really cool to look up to her and see what she could do here.
Neither sibling, though, had an easy road to get there. Do you remember the night your sister got hurt?
Oh yeah, it was in a scrimmage in summer, down here on the block down there.
My left leg went backwards, popped out of place, and then popped back into place.
We were sitting up there in the corner, and my mom yelled.
And then I remember thinking in my mind, like, I didn't tear my ACL. There's no way I tore my ACL.
Allie didn't just tear her ACL, she also tore her MCL and meniscus.
You get a sickening feeling as when you evaluate an injury like that, and you know what it could mean for that athlete.
Allie had surgery and quickly began rehab.
Rehab itself was I think it was more mentally hard than physically.
Remarkably, she was able to make it back on the court by the end of her senior season. And now, she plays basketball at Northern Kentucky University. But unfortunately, that was not the last time Nick Repko would see a Neese sibling walk into his office.
Oh no. You know, my first thought was, not again.
I'll never forget that at all. I mean, I could tell when I did it that something really bad happened.
In the offseason before his junior year, Kelly tore his ACL.
Seeing her go through that recovery before really helped me, but seeing her go through that and then me go through that, she really led the path for me to do that.
Well, he's also kind of competitive, so he would be like, hey, if Allie can do it, I can do it.
And he did. He recovered, and not even 2 years later, Kelly is now the leading scorer in program history and just broke the single game scoring record too with 47 points in one game.
It just taught me to not take anything for granted.
I want things to just stack up for him so finally he can be like, okay, all that was worth it, because he's been through a lot.
In Northern Kentucky, Caleb No, WCPO 9 Sports.
The murder trial starts Monday for the former Minneapolis police officer accused of killing George Floyd. Derek Chauvin faces manslaughter and second and third degree murder charges. Jury selection finished up earlier this week when a 15th juror was picked. That juror will be sent home before opening arguments if the other 14 jurors show up. 2 of them will be alternates and will be released at the conclusion of the trial. Testimony is expected to last a month. The government is no longer distributing one of Eli Lilly's antibody treatments by itself for COVID patients. The FDA says the BAMLAN therapy alone might not work well against COVID variants, but it seems to work better when combined with other antibody therapies. The CDC says there are variants that show a resilience to current treatments. A new projection raises the number of COVID deaths by July 1st. The University of Washington's Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation estimates the death toll will exceed 600,000 in the U.S. That's 4,000 deaths higher than the group's last projection about a week ago. The institute offers some guidance to prevent that increase from happening. The group says 10,000 lives could be saved if mask use goes up from the current 75% to 95% of the population.
The trial of Derek Chauvin, who's accused in the death of George Floyd, is bringing back a lot of painful memories for some Americans, especially when it comes to the body camera video. History may be bound to repeat itself, but there are certain parts of history that are difficult to return to.
America has imagined that it was well, when in fact it was quite ill.
David Eichhardt is a professor of African American Studies at Vanderbilt University. He has watched over the last year as this country has done a great deal of soul searching.
We shouldn't be surprised that this cancer of our racial unreckoning has metastasized. We shouldn't be surprised because it was totally and wholly predictable.
For David and many other Black Americans, the trial of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin carries with it an immense amount of pain.
I think this is a moment. This is a real serious moment.
Perhaps most painful, though, is the video. Those awful moments where George Floyd is knelt on for nearly 9 minutes. A jury will ultimately decide if what happened in that video was criminal.
I have not seen the whole video in its entirety. I literally cannot watch it. I literally, the moment that George Floyd called for his mom, I shut it down.
It's important to understand just how deeply that video has impacted us as a nation. Important to understand how it makes many people feel even 10 months later.
That is a trauma. That is, I honestly don't know how people can continue to watch it. And in some ways, I think we've become desensitized to certain types of traumas.
There's been this gigantic boom of people of color looking for a therapist of color.
As a clinical social worker, Demetrius Perkins currently has a waiting list that is months long. She says the pandemic, coupled with the past year's civil unrest, has prompted a lot of African Americans to want to talk, which she encourages people to do.
Because they've had this time during COVID, time with themselves, they're starting to really realize, wow, there's this stuff that's been inside me for a long time, and now I cannot escape it.
If history is bound to repeat itself, perhaps there's something to be learned from what happened.
We're really, literally seeing the playing out in dramatic fashion, the soul of the country. Who do we want to be?
I'm Chris Conti.
In just a few weeks, millions of Americans will awaken to a loud experience that only happens once every 17 years. We're talking about a group of cicadas emerging from the ground, potentially by the billions. Here's what to expect. Birds chirping, flowers budding, warming weather, all herald the arrival of spring. And then There's these.
They essentially have Capri Sun straws as mouth parts.
This is a cicada.
Here we have all 6 of its walking legs.
And this is Trisha Nichols with the Philadelphia Insectarium and Butterfly Pavilion, a place full of all kinds of insects and other cool, creepy crawlers. This spring, the insect world is going to get a little more crowded thanks to one group of cicadas.
They do not have the ability to bite humans because they don't have the ability to bite.
So what's going on? Every 17 years, a group of cicadas known as Brood X emerge from the ground, looking for a little love. And there's going to be a lot of them.
The cicadas will emerge potentially by the billions across 15 states, meaning tens of millions of Americans will likely encounter them. Cicadas aren't harmful to humans, plants, or pets. Birds enjoy eating them, so do some people. But the mating calls of cicadas are loud, in excess of 100 decibels, like a car stereo at maximum volume.
Cicadas actually have what's called a tympanum. So if you imagine, they almost have a drum, but it doesn't have drumsticks at all. It just pops back and forth like this, and it pops in a way that it makes that chirping noise, and they can vibrate it very, very quickly.
But just as quickly as they emerge, they'll start to fade out, and within 4 to 6 weeks, the cicada show will be over. The babies of Brood X will head underground for another 17 years.
They dig down underneath the ground, and they spend 17 years drinking from tree roots, all right? And it takes 17 years for them to get enough nutrients and to gain enough energy to become an adult.
And like other 17-year-olds, ready to party once they do. In Philadelphia, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
The wide-open green spaces of America's national park system are about to get a lot greener with a new partnership between the National Park Foundation and Tupperware, the iconic kitchenware company. How is a food storage company connected to the country's span of national parks? We wondered that too.
And one of our core values is that we nature the world. We nature the planet for the good. And when we think about what national parks are trying to do, what they offer to the people of the U.S., we're convinced that our values actually are very connected in terms of educating people and protecting the planet.
Tupperware is about to hit its 75th anniversary, and the company wants everyone to know there's a lot more to them than what you might find in the kitchen.
Just 30% of our products are coming from food containers, and the other 70% is for many other things, from cooking with microwave, portable bottled waters, and other stuff. So, that's Tupperware.
On their journey to transform their company values, Senior VP of Sales and Marketing Luis Vasquez tells us their nonprofit arm realized what good they can do by joining forces with the National Park Foundation, which isn't the Park Service. Instead, it serves to support all 423 national park sites that we know and love.
We help them by raising money to make what they do even better and at a larger scale. So that could be around environmental education, it could be around conservation, or it could be around initiatives like sustainability.
CEO and President Will Shafroth says the government does the basics. The foundation provides the excellence.
The trail that you love to walk on in Yosemite is fine, but what we can do is allow it to be safer and increase the capacity of people going up and down it, and so that it doesn't erode in time. And we can make those repairs maybe more through our support more quickly.
And they can do things a lot faster than the long and drawn-out federal budget process.
If you want to do something that affects 2023 or 24, you need to start planning for it now and thinking about it, whereas we can raise money today through a partner like Tupperware and begin to execute the changes immediately.
So when Tupperware pledged their support of $1 million, Shafroth and his team shared their ideas. For starters, there will be an addition of 65 water filling stations in 6 of the more high-traffic sites that need them, places like the National Mall.
Is going to basically result in a reduction of 10 million plastic water bottles that otherwise would be drunk.
Some of the money will go towards signage and direction about recycling. Some will go towards education and composting through solar panels, which will help run the food waste program, like these, seen at the Grand Canyon National Park.
Around 40% of the waste in the parks is coming from compostable products, either food or other raw materials. For example, what we're doing with the solar panels that we're installing is going to reduce around 1,000 tons of waste, plus the reduction on green gas emissions, because you do not need to move all that waste somewhere else.
When you think of it in terms of visitors, these parks see some 330 million people a year. People who bring a lot of waste. But Shafroth sees it as a chance to change mindsets for the greater good.
It also is a huge opportunity to educate those visitors about the importance of contributing in small ways, like just reusing your water bottle, not bringing in something like that.
I'm Stephanie Stone, reporting.
The COVID-19 pandemic is a time a lot of people would rather forget. But this Maryland family is documenting it all, in a spot they call the Tunnel. Good times and the bad. Words and pictures, it's all here to write down and reflect.
I can express feelings, whether it's happy, sad, angry.
Helping them find the light at the end of the tunnel. Superheroes are joining new forces in Virginia Beach. In an effort to help kids get more comfortable around law enforcement, police are recruiting their toys for a ride-along. Captain America and Spider-Man are just a couple who went along for the ride. The officers take pictures along the way to show the kids the adventures they've had when they get back. A wallet lost and long forgotten after about 70 years finally made its way back to its owner. Workers found it during a renovation at a middle school in Virginia. Inside was a 1951 calendar, some pictures, and a newspaper clipping asking God to watch over Navy sailors during the Korean War. But it was a tiny address book that led them to 85-year-old Esther, 500 miles away in Connecticut.
Well, it was absolutely shocking when I learned about it. So, just very surprising, but interesting.
She says she can't wait to flip through all those memories.
Good afternoon. So the clouds are still here, but if you're heading out anytime soon, we might see a few sprinkles out there. We've had a couple reported, but in general, just mostly cloudy. High near 60, turns partly cloudy for late in the day. Late day pops the sun. The weekend, though, brings about, honestly, 2 days that are mostly dry. Saturday for sure at 73. We don't even get into thunderstorm chances until almost midnight. Saturday night into Sunday morning. But Sunday morning, that's where your rain will still be around for a couple of hours before it finally starts to move out. So here's a quick look at Future View showing those increasing clouds. That late day rain chance will basically come in between midnight and 2 a.m. Widely scattered activity, but anything that's left on Sunday morning will be like sprinkles, very light rain that's left. And then drying out. Sunday's high, though, cooler behind this system at 59. Monday we've got sunshine, and the next week we even pop back up to the mid to upper 60s. The temperature, though, will drop just in time for opening day. Highs will only be in the low 50s.
Miami Beach police have arrested more than 1,000 people this spring break season, seizing nearly 100 guns. And as night turns to day, evidence of more property damage emerges. But the chaos isn't representative of most tourists' experiences.
We're usually in bed by then anyway.
We just went inside. There's nothing else to do besides just stay in.
It doesn't really affect me at all.
Everyone during the daytime is wearing masks.
We didn't see many people on the streets. It seemed like everyone was obeying it.
Most people Newsy spoke with say they've obeyed the curfew.
Are you guys obeying the curfew?
Yeah. In the end of the day, we will still obey it.
Even if they don't agree with it.
They knew that we were coming down here for spring break, so they should have said that before we made plans.
Some just turned to alternatives.
Our hotel had a rooftop that was open, bar.
We went to Fort Lauderdale. It's busy, it's popping.
And so far, it seems like the only things the curfew has controlled are cutting profits for business and access to food.
It's really hard to get food.
Ain't no food out here, you hear me?
And we couldn't even get an Uber to deliver our food.
Yeah, it's a problem, and it's affecting us. We're still seeing how things are developing and what we need to do to adjust to the curfew.
Lauren Magarino, Chicago.
I just like helping people.
Some elementary students in Florida are fundraising to help the homeless. They are collecting items like shoes, socks, and hygiene products. Their teacher says it's a way to teach the younger generation the importance of giving back.
I was totally in shock, excited, but also just couldn't believe something like this happened to me.
Students in Tampa surprised their high school teacher with a new roof on her house after winning a contest. Several current and former students wrote essays about the impact she had on their lives and why she deserved the help.
She gives back so much to the community that it's really nice that we are now able to give back to her.
She can now put the money she was saving for a new roof towards something else.
The smiles we're putting on people's faces in our community is just the best reward I could get out of this.
High school students in Cleveland are using a simple way to help lift the spirits of others. They launched a new campaign that places colorful flower yard signs across the city. They hope they will help brighten someone's day.
It lifted my spirit up because I love the colors of flowers.